Welcome back. I'm McKenna,
And I'm Bree.
and today we're going to be talking about haircuts, image, gender, all the fun things. So stay
Cool.
tuned.
Audie
Hotties.
Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the AuddyHottie podcast.
Here we are. So, how has your week been?
Oh, my week's been okay. I've been so tired.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening, if it's just the exhaustion of everything going on around us or what, but like naps every day and yeah,
I'm glad you're able to nap.
trying to. Sometimes it's in my car between patients, but snag a 10-minute snooze.
Just, get it in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm actually diagnosed with narcolepsy, but I have like a form of narcolepsy
Really?
that like if I sit still for long enough or like I'm not stimulated enough, I will just like fall asleep kind of wherever I am. And so in the car I can sit there
Wow.
and if I just like sit with my arms crossed and like don't do anything for a minute, I will fall asleep just like
Oh my gosh. Is it like a restful sleep that you go into, or is it just like, I don't know. Is that a weird question?
No, it's real deep. I mean, I always say that I sleep like too deep. It's a little scary. Like sometimes I don't wake up to things that I should, and like I just very quickly go into whatever the other realm is in my head, and yeah, I'm like totally gone to the world. Yeah.
I'm really jealous.
Yeah, it's useful for sleeping times, but I originally found out that I had it because when I drive to things, if it's longer than like 30 minutes or so, I'll start falling asleep, like whether I'm tired or not. Like I just start
Wow.
nodding
Dosing.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I and one of my patients in Alaska was a psychiatrist, and I was telling her about it. I don't know how it came up, but it was probably like on the way to work or something that it happened. And she's like, let me slip you some like testers of a medication. And if this medication works, then that means you do have some kind of narcolepsy. She's like, if it doesn't work,
Whoa.
then that tells you it's just tiredness or something else. That
Or
these meds are
fatigue.
like for combating that. And they work. I still have them. Luckily, I don't have to use them very often. It's really only like if
Yeah.
I'm like feeling it come on. But yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. I had no idea.
Yeah. I don't think that's related to my tiredness this week, but on a tangent.
Could be the world, could be narcolepsy. You never know.
Yeah.
I also have not been sleeping great. I've
Mm.
been on like a 2 week insomnia season,
Oh,
which I really don't love. It
yeah.
comes every few months and it's really dysregulating. I
Mm.
feel like it just doesn't help with emotional regulation. It doesn't help with tolerance. It doesn't help with wanting to function in
Yeah.
everyday life,
I feel like
the
it would
will to live.
I feel like it would push frustration to the surface. Like
Yeah.
everything is just a quick frustration when you're
Super
that
quick
tired.
frustration.
Mm.
So it has not been fun. It's been a really hard week, but it's
Oh,
okay.
rough.
It happens.
Mm.
And I felt a meltdown coming on, and it's happened twice over the last week.
Oh,
So,
jeez. Oh,
but I think it's just, like you were saying, the state of the world, it's so overwhelming right now.
yeah, I can't
And
process it, so it has to come out somehow. And mm.
yeah, and my one of my good friends, we were talking yesterday, and she was like, I don't think that as humans we're meant to take in all of this information and all of the hatred on top of the information and all of the dichotomy on top of all of it. It's not really what we're made for or built for. So that felt a
Yeah.
little bit normalizing, just to remember that like this is not normal what's going on. And
Yeah, well, I think like if you go back to caveman days, like everything they were looking for was stability, and anything that
yeah,
disrupted stability resulted in we have to migrate, we have to, find a safe place again, we have to, get control of our situation. So I think it's the
totally.
same thing now. We like are back and forth so much on like this is happening right now, but then it didn't mean anything, but now it does, and
Yeah.
those back and forths really mess with our stability and
Yeah, I think they do. And especially as autistic folks, I mean,
yeah.
stability is our number one drive.
Yep.
When everything else is unstable and you just can't even figure out what's next. Just that's a whole other layer on. But not to say that like not everyone's experiencing some sort of instability right now.
Well, the other update, because
Oh
we
yeah.
had already filmed the section before my haircut. If we're ready for that. So,
Totally
so
forgot. Bring it. You got a haircut.
I got a haircut. So
Yeah.
we filmed the one before, and so now you're getting the update to the after. I went and got my haircut by Hair for Humans with Jules. The experience was great. They're such a cool, inclusive environment. We bitched a little bit about the current environment of the world, but it was all in, good company and
Sure.
yeah, knowing that you're supported and
Community.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that part was really cool. It was super weird meeting somebody TikTok famous in real life.
Doesn't it kind of like, don't you feel shy? I don't know. I always feel shy when I meet
Yeah.
people that like aren't really famous, but they kind of are.
Yeah, in a way. I think for me it was more like reconciling the 2D person with the 3D
That's
person
funny.
and being like, oh, okay, wow, okay, you're a real person. Here you are. But yeah, that part was good. I struggle with haircuts because my curly hair. And part of my problem was going in I can't find pictures ever of hair that is similar to my hair, and I'll post some pictures, but my hair is like more curly than most Caucasian people's hair
hmm
that have curly hair, but less curly than a lot of African American hair. And
Mm,
so I'm like in this weird place where I can never find reference pictures that fit my hair.
yeah,
And so I'm like constantly trying to chase this ideal of what I see in a picture,
right.
but I can't get it because
Because
mine
what
looks
you see
different.
is it always turns out
Yeah.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
wonder if it's like isn't there like one, two, three, A, B,
Mhm.
C,
I
those
have
kinds of
multiple curl types across my head.
so interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember all the names and everything because I always forget them. But like, I have some tight curls where they're full ringlets and they like spring up,
Yeah,
and then I have other curls that are just kind of the wavy curls and some that intermix. So it's really, yeah, a challenge.
it's really fun.
Yeah,
Has it
but
always been that way?
yeah, my hair's always been that way. My mom and dad both had curly hair. So I got it from both sides. My little brother has curly hair.
hmm
He looked like little orphan Annie as a kid, is what people would always say. Poor guy. He had bright red hair.
Oh, I didn't realize it
It's
was bright red.
yeah, yeah. It's turned more dark brown as he's gotten older, but there's still a
Oh,
coppery tone in there. But his hair is really cool right now. He's got it growing out in kind of a mohawk situation going on. And
cool.
he's had it before with a mohawk where it was like left curly and just like picked out basically. So it was like it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like hair is very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I almost wonder if it's part of having that language thing where you know what you want, but you don't
hmm
know how to describe it. Was Jules pretty good? I know that they're kind of famous for walking through what you want and being a good communicator about it and trying to figure out from a very like non-judgmental, non-gendered type of place.
Yeah. I definitely feel like they asked a lot of good questions and everything before doing it. And they kind of like said before of like, that hair type is a little different than your hair type. Are you okay if it comes out a little
Okay.
different? And I was like, yeah, because I know that that's like just a fact for me.
Yes, it's a lifelong struggle.
Yeah. But they were really funny because they've got a lot of experience and they were obviously like really well I don't know, like educated on what they were doing with it and how to do the
Sure.
haircuts and all that. And they did this really cool thing every time they were going to cut, like they'd like comb through and do whatever they were doing, and then before cutting with the scissors, every time they'd flip their scissors like over in their hand and then flip their scissors and I thought that was just the coolest thing.
That's so fun. Like a little
Yeah.
flare. Oh,
Yeah.
I want a haircut from them now.
Yeah. You'd probably enjoy it
That'd be
too.
so fun.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like haircuts have been always hard for me as well. I can definitely relate to not really knowing what my hair type is. My hair is super, super thick.
Yeah.
So it lays very different than even if I look up my hair type or look up curly versus wavy hair.
Mhm.
Um, it was really hard for me because I didn't have a lot of access to the language of hair and haircuts. And I remember it wasn't until I started dating someone who had done the whole like cosmetology
Oh,
school where
okay.
I learned about looking at Pinterest and looking at like your certain hair type. And also you can look up, I was really into coloring my hair for a long time and having highlights, but it was interesting because I always wanted warmer tones, but then when it was actually on my head, I didn't love it. So
Color
then,
theory and
exactly. So
yeah.
we'd look up like different hair colors and like put the phone up to my face or whatever. And
That's cool.
but it was so helpful in my journey now. But yeah,
Because do you
hair's
have really
weird.
fine hair too? Is it thick but fine?
I don't know.
Are your strands like pretty small strands, or do you feel like it's like kind of coarse and
Okay, it's a mixture
a mixture? Okay.
because I feel like what's growing in now is like thick black hair. Like
Mm.
that's my gray, so to say. It's and I had a lot of it over the last few
No,
years.
no. I've yet to see any. We'll see.
It's all blended in pretty well. I feel
Yeah, I haven't
very
noticed at all.
privileged. My dad has longer blonde hair, and I feel so he's, I think, 68 years old, and he has definitely gone gray, but you can't even
Mm.
tell because like it's so intermixed with his highlights of
Uh,
blonde, like his natural hair. Um, but yeah, I went through like a huge hair transformation over the last year because my hair used to be like
yeah.
down to my waist, and
When
I
I
didn't
met
even,
McKenna, their hair was already short, and so I
yes,
didn't know that they'd had long hair. And you
I
showed me a picture, and I
know.
was like, "What? Who is that?"
I know. It's really weird to look at pictures even from
Mm,
a year ago and see how long it was. For my whole life, it was long. I usually would do a big chop every 2 to 3 years to like here, and then I would just let it grow again.
yeah.
And it was always really hard for me to find a style that I liked. I definitely over the last few years, as I gained like more hair knowledge, whatever, I kind
Mm,
of did more of like the layered look or kind of the shag look where it did thin out so much of my thickness and I love how the curls laid more.
mm,
Um, but it's been, yeah, hard to figure out how to do curly hair and also like what products to use. And I'm pretty scent aversive, so
mm.
I have to have like scent-free stuff. And if it actually works, that's really lucky if it doesn't smell
Yeah. Yeah,
too. And
product is really hard to figure
Mhm.
out. And my hair, for some reason, will be happy with the product for like 2 or 3 months, and then all of a sudden it'll like stop responding to it, or it'll get really lackluster, or just blah or heavy.
That's
And then
what
I
I
have to
was
switch a
saying.
product again, and I'm like, why can't I just pick a product and stick with
Your hair is
it?
very high maintenance.
Yeah, it's very high maintenance for
We
being
love
so low
her.
maintenance, which is interesting because like curly hair, like you pretty much just put gel in it and then air dry it and it's good to go. Like I don't have to like do a bunch of straightening or anything like that. So
Sure,
like in ways it's low maintenance, but then like
sure.
all this like trying to figure out is really high maintenance.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then it's irritating because like because of curls all being so different, every product is hard to figure out.
Yeah.
So like Shea Moisture, which is like a lot of people's favorite thing, is
Mhm.
too light for my hair. It doesn't control it enough.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but then again, like a lot of the African American products are a little
Hmm.
too heavy because they're, trying to control more thick hair, and my hair is actually kind of fine.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, every now and then I'll find one that's like really like spot on, but
But then 2 months
yeah,
later, your hair will have
I'm
decided
gonna change it again.
it's
Yeah.
ever evolving.
Yeah. That, and I don't know if you found, but curly hair products are so much more expensive than a lot of the like straight hair products are
I
that I've
haven't
seen.
noticed that as much.
Mm,
It's more of the smell for
the
me. That's
smell.
always been the barrier of like this smells like coconut or it smells like
Mm.
flowers or something. And
Do you think that's more with curly hair products than with straight hair products, or
mm, I can't say that I've even looked at straight hair products. It's
right?
more of just like when I'm in Target looking for, well, I'm not going to Target these days. We all know why.
Uh-huh.
Sore subject. But when I have looked for products in the past and have smelled them, I really have to pass up like 90, 95%. Right now I'm using Odell. I told
Mhm.
you about it, but what I really love is that it's gender neutral. So all of their lines are all like,
Mhm.
gender neutral colors, but also on the back it says that these are meant to be shared. It doesn't like affirm one gender or the other, which I just really love supporting a company like that. And I'm
And it makes
pretty,
sense because hair isn't gendered.
I know, the audacity.
The audacity.
I remember first learning about that with it was actually one of Glennon Doyle's books.
Mm,
Do you know Glennon Doyle?
mhm,
Yeah. She wrote a book about, and one of the images she talked about was how she was in the shower one day and looked at her daughter's products versus her son's products and how all of the daughter's products were like pink and talking about how like it's all beauty defined and will make you beautiful. I
Mhm.
forget like the exact words that she was talking about, but then all of the men's products were like black, strong language on it and talks about it being fierce or whatever. And so that kind complete dichotomy of
Mhm.
actually, I don't know if I'm using the word dichotomy in the right way. I do this all the time where I like
Communication.
look up a word where I use a word and I'm like,
Wait a
now I've used it
minute.
twice and I haven't
That's
been right.
okay. Well, it's interesting that you bring up with gender stuff because you've had quite the journey with figuring out gender and like
Hmm.
do you feel like what you found with your hair cuts and changes that you've made in the last year, do you feel more like affirmed in
Hmm.
your gender with it?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
The first cut was so it was so empowering. It
Mm.
came at a time where I was just ready to start feeling confident again. And I had wanted a short haircut for about 8 months. And I remember every time I mentioned it, people were kind of skeptical about whether it would look good or not on me, which I
Oh,
always thought was really interesting. So I just stopped telling people that I even wanted it.
yeah.
And then, yeah, it was at a point in my healing process that I was just like, you know what? I'm ready to like stand back in my power. Um,
Do you feel like that reflected like how they saw you and your gender or
who?
like people saying that they didn't know how it would look on you and that kind of thing? Or do you think it was just because it was such a
Probably.
change
I think both, and
but
maybe just not even knowing what to say. And
mm.
a lot of people commented on, and I even talked about my hairdresser with this when they were cutting my hair, but about how it wouldn't suit my face shape
Oh,
because I have like more of a rounded face and a bigger body. So I think that there is this stereotype that longer hair thins out your face.
mm.
And it's just not what my mission is to look thinner or to make myself
Yeah.
look smaller. I definitely care about my image. And at the same time, what I'm trying to do is work with who I am versus like not and
Yeah.
trying to make myself smaller or fit into these boxes that society has laid out so elegantly for us.
Yeah, I mean, even the assumption that you wouldn't want it to,
I know.
quote unquote, not thin your face out,
Yeah,
that's just a bad assumption that like, oh, you want to look different or you
I
want
know.
to, yeah, change that about yourself.
Yeah. So
Mm.
no one really knew that it was about gender for me.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even saying that out loud really until I was in the hairdresser's chair. And I
Oh,
was like, yeah, I am feeling more and more gender neutral and I'm figuring out my journey. And I really want to feel what a short haircut would look like. And I chose a Maggie Rogers haircut because I saw her perform the summer before at Edgefield and just thought she had the cutest little
aw.
haircut.
Mm.
So, and it looks exactly like what she had. And it definitely took me. Also, are you looking at dichotomy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whenever I was waiting for a good point to put it in, but so here's your dichotomy. I was also gonna try to use it so that I could be like, that's dichotomy, but I'm not smart enough to find a way to use it on the spot. That's not, my brain doesn't work like that. Anyways, dichotomy is defined as a division or contrast between two things that are represented as being opposed or entirely different.
Yeah, I used it right twice.
Woo!
I love it when that happens because it's very rare.
I was listening to some videos of politicians talk this week,
Oh,
and
fun.
I I don't remember who they were. One was from the UK and one was from here, but they used a couple of words that like triggered my old GRE brain. That was like when I had to take all the standardized testing, I had to learn so many words, and they said a couple of words that I was like, oh, I forgot about that word, and then I had to go like look it up and save it. It's like one of them was temerity, and I was like, oh, it's a good word,
I have
temerity.
tell me what it means. I've never even heard of this
So
word. I
let me
didn't
look at
have
the
to
actual
take the
definition so I'm
GRE.
not super wrong. Oh, lucky duck.
Yeah, because I applied to grad school during COVID. So
Oh,
I was one of the only classes that didn't have to take
oh
the
my gosh,
GRE.
wow. So it's like excessive confidence or boldness, like the audacity. So having the
Ah,
temerity
the
to,
temerity.
yeah.
Ah, I'll use that now. I will
Right.
use it wrong the first couple of times.
Oh, wait, let me Google it. Okay, the temerity.
So relatable.
Yeah.
So
Anyways.
back to like getting that first chop, I remember it feeling so good, especially at the salon and just like looking at my hair and so many people were,
Mhm.
externally validating me. So of course,
Aw.
of course I love that. I remember getting in my car and then kind of taking it in for myself and taking a few pictures and just feeling so confident
Mhm.
and at the same time like this is a huge change. Like how do I reckon this
Mhm.
change? That was really hard for me and
Yeah,
I don't know, has that
I was telling you about it earlier that like you asked if I liked my cut and I was like, I think so. Because I struggle with that change right off the bat, even if it's exactly what I asked for.
yeah,
And then my brain is just like, uh, I don't
what
know.
do
I
I
don't know
do?
what to do. It's different.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not somebody who like wants to go and get the same thing all the time.
I
So that's
relate
kind
to
of
that.
a weird struggle of like I want things to be different and to change and have that, but the change also is disrupting and confusing and a little bit takes a while to get used to. And,
AudhD maybe?
yeah, definitely.
Two battles
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Which makes total sense too with like I have a really hard time picturing myself and like knowing what I look
I do
like.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been told it's a form of like dysmorphia, like body
Okay.
dysmorphia, not being able to like register what you look like. And it was
Interesting.
pretty common with autistic people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, I can definitely relate. I feel like it started for me as a form of, looking different from everyone at a very young age. It was probably age 8 that I started going through puberty just like earlier than everyone else. My body started looking differently and I started carrying weight differently and just becoming bigger than all of the other kids around me. And
Mhm.
that started this whole journey of just feeling really disconnected to my body. And I think trauma has to do with that quite a bit. But I was thinking earlier today, like, as I knew this episode was going to talk about gender and like the concept of gender dysphoria versus body dysmorphia. And I have to say that I fall way more on the spectrum of body dysmorphia. I think my relationship with gender is way more about the taking in like what gender is, even, and having a pretty like I think it's come up a few times in my own experiences of, well, especially being part of the queer community, you know, what does transgender mean? What is a definition of gender? How does it differ from sex? All of that stuff. And I realized the more and more I like intellectualized it, which
Uh,
is what we do, what we
uh-huh.
do best, I was like, oh, I'm gender nonconforming. Like,
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't conform to one gender or the other. I fall into that non-binary umbrella.
Mm.
And I feel very privileged that it was pretty easy realization. And it's never been one that I wrestled with, if that
Oh,
makes
that's interesting.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way that I've always known that I was a girl and I feel girly and
Yeah,
like sometimes I will dress less girly, like dress
sure.
more masculine,
Yeah,
but I've never questioned what I feel my gender is.
yeah.
I can completely understand it for other people, but
Hmm.
yeah, I've never like questioned that or anything. So I've always felt
Yeah,
very solidly in that part of it and then just
totally.
changed how my presentation is depending on how I feel like it, like if I want to present more masculine or whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. And I wanted to ask you too, like, what does gender mean for you as a cisgender person?
Ugh.
I know, it's
What
like
does
that.
it mean? Um, I don't know. I don't think I really like include it in a lot of my life
Hmm.
in ways like I recognize how much it is in everything around us.
Hmm.
I was talking to my best friend the other day and she's raising a little boy and she was talking about how she's trying to unravel some of that like gendered stereotypes in everything around them and like not put that
Totally.
pressure on a kiddo
Yeah.
and like how much that's changed their own like perception of gender.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of the same way, like the more I'm educated about it, the more I see it. But
Sure.
I do feel a little like I was blind to it before, of like not
Mhm.
realizing how much that impacted other people. And how much it was in everything from language to books to every
Pay
part of
grade.
our pay grade. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I mean, I was raised with a really strong mother figure
Hmm.
who kind of the you can do anything you want, you can go anywhere, do anything, you're valuable, like all those kind of things. Like
Yeah.
she does whatever she wants, like goes and hikes by herself and just is
Strong,
not a
independent woman.
exactly, yeah, she's not afraid to do anything. And she kind of raised me with that same mentality of like she got a degree in construction management, like
So
cool lady,
cool.
like not afraid. And that was in what was I guess that would have been like the
80s?
80s. I guess
That's
so she was
so
in
freaking
college. So
cool.
like I mean that was in a time when it was super men oriented careers
Right.
and stuff, and she's just never been afraid to
Yeah.
burst into that. So I do feel like that's formed me a lot
Yeah.
in my own like concept of my gender, and like I
Sure.
don't see the limitation on it for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's interesting that we're living in a world where presently it almost is another dichotomy, binary of like, I don't know how I want to say this, but it's like gender does exist so loudly, and it's this socialized construct that we've built and, patriarchy has built from the ground up. So it is interesting to like learn about it in all these different ways and then kind of figure out how you fit into it as well, and whether you do fit into the binary or the non-binary, and then once you're in one of those places, like how does gender feel? And it
Yeah.
is really weird. I do have to say that like speaking out loud about it is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and like trying to translate your experience with it into like summarizing it is really hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a funny story.
Tell
So
me.
one of my autism naiveties is that I frequently don't understand like I don't know, like terms that we use to be short for something. Like
Mm-hmm.
I never understood, this is exactly correlating to where my story is going, but I didn't understand what TPing a house meant. Like, like when people would say like, oh, they TP'd that house. I like thought it was like TP, like a shape or something
I love
until
that
I was in
so much.
college, a full adult, and I finally realized like TP toilet paper. I was like,
Mind
mind
blown.
blown. I had the same moment like a day ago about envy because this whole time I've been trying to figure out what ENBY stood for. I was like, I don't, it's like something binary. I don't know, like trying to make up an acronym for it. And then I finally
So
just clicked
funny.
and was like, in B, non. So
You know
ridiculous.
what though? It is confusing. It took me a hot minute to figure out because it's spelled ENBY
Yeah.
and B and B. What does that mean?
Indeed. Can't just take something at face value. You got to try to figure it out.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I had something about the TP thing, but I've already forgotten it.
Oh.
um,
Oh, but yeah, like you bring up gender on like the nationwide scale too is interesting because of this new stuff around studies, especially like not being able to use gender, like non-conforming, female, male. Like they put all of those things on the like you're not allowed to put them in studies. Have
I
you seen that?
just heard this
Yeah.
2 days ago, and it just,
The list was like 50
yeah,
words that you can't use.
yeah.
Yeah. You can't use like sex. Like so all these like biologists and stuff are like, how are we even supposed to describe like I'm studying a sea animal? How do I now say
That is
what
so funny.
sex is or like
But it's kind of interesting because I feel like in a backwards way, how are they going to be using the binary to
right. Are we
describe?
like simultaneously destroying the gender norms
Yeah, is
while we're
this
also saying that we don't want you to talk about it?
our plot has worked? The plan has
The gay agenda.
the gay agenda. taken
I feel like we
over.
need to be like Dumbledore's army. We're gonna like Dumbledore's army this and be the gay agenda.
Well, have I told, I don't know if I've talked on the podcast about going to my class, my gender affirming voice
I
course
think you started
in
to.
Denver.
Yeah.
Um,
You told us the funny stories about your travel.
okay.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably pick up in another episode. It was
Yes.
a hilarious weekend. But I really felt this sense of like a revolution.
Mm.
I don't know, because here we are, a bunch of SLPs and voice teachers that got together to learn about how to do gender affirming voice therapy. And it was in all of these different kind of underground ways of getting insurance covered or about, making services accessible, which I just really appreciated because it happened to be the week after our inauguration.
Mm.
So it was a really hard week for I think everyone there. Um, and for us all to get together and kind of have a sense of community, but also a sense of like, oh, we can actually take action to help support this community, help keep it very much alive. It just felt really powerful.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
um, but yeah, Dumbledore's army definitely crosses my mind of like,
We need a code word for our little
yeah.
revolution.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting because I think it is going to be a huge problem. And I really hate to say it. And I think already, even being a provider that wants to provide gender affirming services, I will not be able to use that language
Mm.
in any of my reports or um, I don't even know if I want to use it in advertising, to be honest.
Mhm.
In fear of hate crimes, in fear of safety for myself and my clients. Um, so it is a really interesting, God, I keep on, this is annoying, but I was gonna say dichotomy
Dichotomy.
again.
You're on like a
I'm on like a hyperfixation or
yeah, yeah. Or what is it called when you really like the sound of something? So you keep saying
echolalia.
echolale,
Yes,
dichotomy.
it's happening. I have a really funny story about echolalia that I can tell later, but um the dichotomy of wanting to exist and be loud and be joyful as a form of resistance, be loud as a form of resistance, come together, form communities, form alliances, and also wanting to hide under a rock
Hmm.
and being super scared of safety and being scared of community safety and wanting to take care of each other and not knowing where the fuck to start,
Hmm.
how to do it, how to talk about it. So
Yeah.
it's a really challenging time, I have to say.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here,
I
but
think we could tie that to like how you show yourself outwardly too, because it even comes down to that, like at what level of fear and what level of like comfortability are you at of projecting who you are and your openness and all of that. It's like I don't know. I feel like in moments like this, I want to be even more like loud in how I dress and stuff because it's not as strong of a statement, but it still is a statement. Like
hmm.
the whole stuff going around of like doing red lipstick again because that was
Yeah.
the like feminist thing
Oh, funny.
back in like the 50s, 60s or
Oh,
whenever that was.
yeah.
That they're saying now like wear red lipstick in protest. Like that's your like feminism. I'm a woman,
Yeah.
like I believe in our rights, that kind of thing. Even that is like a fun like I don't know, not undermining, but like
Yeah.
way to
It's like
show.
fuck the patriarchy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have another friend that has talked about this as well, of just like wanting to dress louder and just wanting to like, say fuck it all. I'm gonna be loud as hell with the way I dress, with my form of speech, all of that stuff. I fall into a fawning category. I
Mm.
actually want to, I mean, it's hard because I and I think that privilege plays a lot into it. Because as white people, I feel like there
Mhm.
is a responsibility that we have to use our white privilege for speaking up, speaking out. Um,
Well, and our like safety. That's it. Like
yeah,
it's safer for us because we can pass and
yeah,
blend in or whatever, but to use our safety to help others that are not safe and
yeah,
mhm.
definitely. And I have to say that since cutting my hair and dressing more masculine, I have been treated very differently by
Mm.
different people. It started in early intervention, walking into homes, and it just felt like my queerness was so loud,
Mm.
and it might have been something that I was just extra sensitive to, but I also feel like I'm a pretty intuitive person and can pick up on vibes. And there was a couple of homes that I walked in and immediately didn't feel safe and didn't feel wanted. And so it's interesting to have experienced that in very small ways over the last few months. And then there is a small part of me, I'm not gonna lie, that just wants to like throw it all away and just be like, okay, well, I can be gender nonconforming and not necessarily express it and yada yada yada. Like I don't need anyone to see who I am. But I think that goes to like internalized transphobia and also just this like that's not really what we've been talking about doing as a community.
Yeah.
So,
So all the heavy like political stuff aside and everything, what would be your style now? Like if you could just
oh,
pick whatever you wanted.
I feel like I'm really nerding out on like a middle-aged tech bro. Like I'm really
Are we talking the work from home middle-aged tech bro, or are we talking
always.
office tech bro?
I don't fucking know.
I feel like those are two different, like office tech bro is like all put together and like maybe suits and like jackets and like kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
But
no.
or like work from home tech bro is very different. Like casual, but like nerdy and like
Yeah, like
yeah.
I've got my glasses going on. I've got my cute little like curls back here. I wear t-shirts and like I wear the same type of jeans or cargo pants. And then I love like Converse shoes. I feel
Hmm.
like that just ties in the whole look and corduroy jackets. Like I've been playing with that a lot, but very basic, very clean.
Hmm.
I don't know why I call it tech bro, but
I
I
like
feel
it.
like
No,
that's
it
my
makes sense.
gender identity right now. Last few months.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, like about a month ago, because my hair's been getting pretty long, so I've been wearing it in like little pigtails
Hmm.
sometimes, and I have been like dressing a little bit like I used to before I got my hair cut and wearing just like, I don't know, a little bit more feminine stuff. But I I decided one day last week that I wanted to wear a skirt to work.
Oh.
And I haven't done that at this new job yet
Oh, I
at
saw you in
all.
your skirt, didn't I?
Did you see me in my orange skirt?
I think maybe I saw you in a skirt because I was like, oh, I really like your skirt, but I
You
don't remember
did.
when I saw you.
Yes, you came over that night.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So it was like a longer orange skirt with
Mm-hmm.
flowers on it.
Flowy and
Yeah,
yeah.
super cute. And
Hmm.
then a sweater on top, like a pullover sweater. And then I had my hair in like my little pigtails and it was all curly. And then I had my Converse because I,
Every outfit.
yeah. Maybe my gender is just wearing Converse.
My gender is Converse. Mine is Vans.
There you go. There you
My
go.
gender is Vans.
I love it. And the energy I got from everyone that day was so wild. It was like there was a ton of attention on my outfit, a lot of hellos, a lot of like, you look really good today.
Hmm.
It's just interesting because I really liked what I was wearing and the dichotomy.
When we get to the end of the episode, I'm gonna make her say dichotomy like 50 times in a row and get it out of her system. The outtakes are just gonna be McKenna saying dichotomy, 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 dichotomy.
I don't think I've ever used this fucking word in my whole life.
I love it.
But the dichotomy of how I was fucking treated dressing like a woman
Hmm.
or dressing feminine versus my usual masculine. I mean,
It'd be an
it was
interesting,
jarring
be
to
an
be say the
interesting,
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting thought experiment to dress up like extra masculine, but like dressy and see if that makes
Mm,
a similar or a different effect.
I
Because
love
I think
that.
some of it too is like if I wear a skirt or a dress, even though I'm just kind of girly all the time,
Yeah.
like I do feel like I get more people saying things, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's just because it feels more like a special occasion than like,
Sure.
my usual jeans and a sweater or whatever.
Like it's a hyper femme
Yeah, I
look.
kind of hyper femme and just like that I don't know if I put more effort into it for the day or something
Totally.
like that, But
Totally.
I
Yeah.
wonder because I just recently got a cute little suit jacket thing, so I wonder like
Yes.
if you went out in something like that, if you'd get similar comments. It'd be
So
interesting to know.
I know. I'm gonna try that next
Okay.
week. I'll
We'll come back
report
to you with
back.
results.
Although it's interesting, I feel like dressing really fancy masculine, I actually feel really uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like button ups, slacks, ties. I do not feel like that aligns with me and what I
Hmm,
want to express.
interesting.
It's so interesting. I could talk about this like for hours and hours and hours. But I've tried. I've like tried wearing suits. I bought a couple of like nice button downs for dates and they're in my closet and every time I put them on I'm just like it just doesn't
Eh.
feel like me.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think it just goes to show that I do fall into like that spectrum of gender and well gender is a spectrum and I fall more into like the non-binary category and that because it's so fluid, like there might be a day where I want to wear suits. Okay, has your style changed over your lifetime? Or have you always had like a consistent style? Because I know that we've talked about a lot of comfortability with you, and like
Hmm.
one of your things with being autistic is having that sensory avoidant, accommodating clothes.
Yeah. I've always been someone who fluctuates a lot in my style from day to
Hmm.
day too, which like doubles up with it being really hard because there'll be something that I'm like, I want to wear this outfit today because I feel like this particular, maybe girly outfit or this particular sweater and I want to look a little more mask or like whatever
Hmm.
it is. But then if I put it on and it's not the right texture, then I have to change, but then it's not the right expression that I wanted. So it's really hard to go back and forth. But
Totally.
yeah, I've always kind of changed a lot and like never really felt like I knew what my style was, which
Hmm.
still don't necessarily, but I kind of feel like that is just because that is my style. Like my style is to have a lot of variability
Hmm.
and variety and feel different every day. Um, but I kind of lean between like trendy and current. Like I
Hmm.
really like to like do Pinterest outfits and
Hmm.
like try to copy those. And then a little bit more mask leaning, so I've got some button ups too, and some more like masculine pants, that kind of thing. And hyper femme like fairy unicorn girl style. Like I
Ooh.
love glitter, I love like lavender and light blues and teals and
Me
like
too.
space buns
Hmm.
and sparkly makeup and jewelry and like all that kind of stuff. In fact, Lauren went jean shopping with me the other day, and there was a pair of jeans that had little rhinestones like on the top because
Yes,
all the 90s things are coming back. Embroidered jeans,
I love it.
jean braiding, like where they braid the jean
Yeah,
material, that's coming back. Like so many things is coming back, but it had like bejeweled top like patterns. And
amazing.
I like looked at them and was like, oh, cute. And then was like, I'd never wear that. And then Lauren was like, you should try them on. Like that's super what you like. You have those sparkly shoes and those other things. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try. And of course I love them because I like sparkly things.
They're your favorite pair of pants, right?
Yeah.
No
And
big
I've already
deal.
gotten like 3 or 4 compliments on them. Like one
I
was from like a
love
daycare
them.
place that I go to and they're so sweet every time we get to like kind of hang out together while
Oh,
I see the kids and
yeah.
yeah, they were like, "Oh my gosh."
Love the sparkle pants.
Yeah, I was like, "Thanks, Lauren, help me have the confidence to actually try
Oh,
it."
I love that.
Yeah. So I'm
It's
trying to
awesome.
embrace a little bit more of that like silly fun
Yeah.
style too.
Inner child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely what I thought was a scene kid in high school.
Ooh, a scene
A
kid.
scene
Tell
kid,
me
my
more.
black super skinny jeans and studded belts and
Ooh, like emo,
kind of like emo, but scene kids were more like
skater.
the like skater plus like vibrant colors. Like it was like black, but with like highlighter colors along with it. And then it was like the hair where you had the like both all of it sweep to one side, like the
Oh
bangs. I'll have to find some pictures of me and
please.
my little brother went through our like emo scene phase at the same time. It was pretty funny. We both tried to straighten our hair. It was
Went through it
really, really
together.
funny. Yes.
Scene kids. I don't think I've ever heard that term before. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, even in like undergrad, I went to a school that had a lot of sorority and fraternity life, and
Mm,
I just was trying to rebel in every way. Like I was the kid on campus that had colored hair
hell
and
yeah.
like roller skated to class and like just all this stuff to kind of like stand out and be
Oh
different.
my gosh, you're so cool. Still are.
Uh,
That's awesome.
I mean, I felt really lucky that I was able to be kind of out and be that weird in college because I there was definitely a few
Yeah.
people that were like, oh yeah, like I saw you doing this and like it made me be more confident or like I knew who you were because you're the blue haired girl that goes around. No.
I really love that. Like
Yeah.
by you having confidence and standing out, like you inspired other people to do the same.
Yeah.
Ah,
It was sweet.
I really love that.
Yeah. What about you in childhood? Did you have your childhood, teenage years, that kind of time frame? Was your style different? That was also your super Christian time though, right?
Hell yeah. When I was part of the cult
So
is my
did we lean into Christian girl aesthetic?
the cult years as my brother refers to them. You know what? It's super interesting because I was a kid who, like, my mom pretty much dressed me or like laid out clothes for me up until about third grade.
Mm.
And then, like, I started like being more vocal about what I wanted to wear, and it was a lot more of that tomboy. I didn't probably know how the fuck to put outfits together, but like, but it's interesting because on special occasions, it would always be hyper femme.
Mm.
Like the skirt, the makeup, the I had pink Uggs that I would wear to like
Yes, the Uggs. Oh my gosh.
loved my pink Uggs, but my hair straightened. It's so interesting that those really do stand out to me because then during the everyday, it was always jeans, sweatshirts, short sweatshirts, sweatpants.
And those hyperfem moments were things that you chose. It wasn't like you felt pressured that your mom wanted you to wear that. It was like you chose to be more hyperfem on this.
You know what? It was never my mom, but I would say probably a societal expectation.
Mm.
And having that be having friends talk about what outfits they were gonna wear and wanting to fit in. Um, I really look back on my middle school experience as like I had no idea what was going on, and I was just trying to take it all in and somehow fit in
Mhm.
with anyone. And I had some pretty like just hard social moments where I thought I was part of a friend group, but then the next day, like, wouldn't be friends with them anymore. So I really tried anything to fit in. And so,
Mhm. So a
odd,
lot of that was colored by you're trying to fit in and
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And like going to school dances in particular, I remember you'd go and get a skirt and wear a shirt and high heels and straighten your hair. Um, but in high school, I went to an all-girls Catholic school, which I don't know if I've talked about that, but we wore a school uniform.
Oh.
Yes. It was super fucking cute. Like a little plaid skirt and I felt like Rory Gilmore. In fact, my grandma gave me saddle shoes like when I got into Mercy of like because Rory wore saddle shoes. Anyway, do you ever watch Gilmore Girls?
No,
Okay,
I wasn't
well,
a Gilmore Girl
that's
girl.
fine. But, you would style yourself not with your uniform, but with your shoes and with your hair
Mm.
and or, wearing pants instead of the skirt. Um, I wore pants a lot instead of the skirt. I wore sweatshirts a lot. You were allowed to wear sweatshirts of sports teams that you were on. So it's just interesting that again, more tomboy-y. But on Fridays, we got free dress. And 9 times out of 10, I would wear dresses on Friday and be hyper femme and straighten my hair. It's really interesting to look back.
Yeah.
But I also have to tell you, of course, I wore the Christian sweatshirts. I think half of my wardrobe was like of different emblems that like had been like there was a DC sweatshirt that I had that like they redid it to be JC, and then the
Uh,
slogan underneath was JC died for me.
I see.
Another one I had was American by birth, Christian by choice.
Okay.
So these were the dark years. We can definitely have a whole episode on what this time was for me and why I fell into it. And it has probably a lot to do with being AuddyHD. But
Yeah.
that was
I
my
digress. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So then in my college years, it was interesting because I had this switch in sophomore year where I was really aware of the fact that I wasn't dressing like aligned with who I was,
Mm.
interesting enough. So I started wearing like, I remember I went out and bought like flower shirts and sweaters and jeans or whatnot. And like, it's just interesting because I feel like my comfort and my go-to was dressing more tomboy. But when I wanted to dress well, I only knew and was comfortable with dressing more feminine.
Hmm.
And that has kind of continued until like this last year where I'm like, you know what? I really want to lean in full force to dressing more mask and presenting more mask.
Mm.
And I have never felt more myself or confident.
Oh.
And it has been really fun.
Oh.
I think it'll still continue to be fun.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I feel like, oh, I've found that missing puzzle piece.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah. Anyway,
I
that's my
realized something
journey.
else while you were talking about it that being a queer woman, I have also struggled with not knowing whether I was interested in an outfit because I wanted to wear that outfit and look like that, or because I was interested in that person or outfit or style.
Mm-hmm.
So I am
Mm-hmm.
really attracted to like masculine but feminine women
Mm-hmm.
and people more on that like line of masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, do I want to wear those outfits or do I just think it's really hot?
Completely relate.
Yeah.
Am I attracted to them or do I want to be them?
Yeah.
Same with their clothes.
Mhm.
No, that is so interesting. And I feel like that's another form of, with autism and taking in the world and taking in models and scripting. Like, I wonder if, like, even wearing different things is a form of scripting or taking in what you've seen, processing, and then expressing it out. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Another challenge for me is that I pretty much solely shop at thrift stores.
Okay.
I have so much guilt when it comes to like, something we could go into in another thing again, where I was raised with relatively low income
Yeah.
and I just feel so much guilt around shopping at regular stores, even if
Mm-hmm.
things are on sale or whatever. Like even buying like one item is like, this is so hard. I have to make the right choice. And, like so much stress behind it.
So hard.
When I can, go to the thrift store and spend like $40, which would be the same amount, but get a few things and then I feel better about it.
Right.
But the part of shopping at the thrift store is, you're kind of stuck with what you find
Mm-hmm.
and you aren't necessarily going to find exactly what's on your Pinterest board.
Sure. Work
So
with what you've got.
yeah, so sometimes it works out really well and I'll find something that's super unique and like would have never found at a real store or picked out for myself. But
Mm-hmm.
then I see it and I'm like, whoa, that's it. I gotta pick that. Um, like I just went roller skating last week for gay skate.
Love.
And I found this really cool, it's got like moons and moons and stars and like other kind of like witchy vibe things on it, but it's a mesh like top with
Cute.
short sleeves. I
Yeah.
wear it over top of like a little black tank top. But like I would have never picked that up at the store because I'd have been like, oh, this is so like I'm not I'm too old for this. Like
Got
I'm not
it.
hip enough to wear that. But it was like $2 at the thrift store, and I was like, oh, grab it, maybe just for skate night. We'll see if I ever wear it again. But then
Yeah.
like I was like totally into it, and it was really fun and like
Oh,
a unique thing to have. So
yeah. Like it gave you a sense of just like wanting something different for yourself and it gave you like enough access to like not pay for it full price and
yeah,
all
less
that kind of
pressure
stuff.
that it had to be something I wear regularly or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's just something fun for
Something fun. Well, it takes the pressure off too of like spending all the money because I know that that's
yeah.
stressful.
Yeah.
Stressful. Well, I think that that just about wraps it up, except for I was thinking it'd be cool to go over our sun signs
Okay.
because sun sign is your image.
Okay.
So for astrology, I know your sun sign.
Okay, cool. She's not gonna make me look it up. She's gonna tell me.
So sun sign is what you will usually hear in pop culture in
Okay.
terms of like your sign.
Okay.
So you're an Aries, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Sagittarius. So your sun sign is the same as your Venus sign. So I've already talked about Aries, but I'll talk about it again. Aries is a very playful, quick, witty energy. They are the children of the zodiac, first sign that you will have in the zodiac. And with that comes, like a lot of that youthful energy and passion for things. I think it's
Sparkles.
sparkles, shining, having confidence, like you were saying about in college, how you would just be yourself. So Aries. Yeah, JVN, Aries, sun sign. So if you relate at all. Um, Sagittarius is the wanderer, the explorer, adventurer, always kind of on the pursuit of learning more, expanding more. So I feel like that kind of relates to my style too, in terms of just like always kind of having it as an exploratory thing versus like a right or wrong thing or a very rigid thing. But yeah, I thought that that would be fun to talk about today.
Lauren's a Sagittarius
She
too. So I
is.
wonder how that plays into her style.
I know, I know. I'll have to ask her about her history with style
Yeah.
and if it's been as wanderer-esque as me.
Wonder.
But I have a lot of Sag in my chart, so
Mm.
it could be another sign. I don't really know. I think what I was telling you earlier about the Venus sign, it's more of like if you dress as a certain sign, it'll attract that energy. So like if you dress as your Venus sign, it'll attract more love and connection. Who knows?
So what was my
Like a
Venus sign? My
TikTok
Venus
fad.
sign. Oh, my Venus sign is
Aries.
Aries too. Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
it tracks.
Easy enough.
Mine's Capricorn, which is more of that like serious, traditional type of, mentality, which makes me wonder if I do feel more attractive when I'm like put together and I do like think about my outfit and it is more of like a classic streamlined look.
Mm.
Converse with all my outfits. I have no idea. But it's fun to play around with clothes and gender and haircuts, all the things. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as long as it's here. And then you can listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube also. So,
And thanks for listening. We've had a lot of really good feedback. We launched a couple weeks ago and
yeah,
we're just so excited that y'all are here for the ride.
yeah, cruise along.
So until next time, find your joy.
And be unapologetically you in your clothes and everything else.
All of it. All of it. Bye.
Bye.